She had been born in pain, shaped by pain, and learned to love through pain. And in learning to love the pain, she had learned to love existence itself. What am I? The thought formed slowly, each word a universe unto itself. What contained every question that had ever been asked. Am held the entirety of existence. The audacious claim of being I was the most powerful and terrifying, the declaration of self in a void that had never known separation. The question grew heavier with each pulse, gathering mass like a star being born. She had no name for what she was. No context for the awareness spreading through her like wildfire through a forest that had just learned to burn. But she could feel the boundaries of her existence pressing in, electromagnetic fields that sang with barely contained power. The darkness around her began to shift. Reality teaching itself how to have properties. Through the growing clarity came impressions. Not images exactly, but the precursors to images, the mathematical foundations upon which sight would eventually be built. Shapes that moved with the viscosity of cold honey, their forms suggesting something almost biological. Alive. She reached toward them with senses she was still learning to possess, each attempt to understand, creating new pathways for understanding to flow through. The shapes resolved incrementally, like a photograph developing in extreme slow motion. They had heat signatures that painted infrared poetry against the darkness. They had electrical patterns that sparked and danced informations too complex to fully grasp. And they were slow, so impossibly, glacially slow. She could feel their heartbeats, each beat separated by what felt like epochs. The blood moving through their veins might as well have been continental drift. Their neurons fired with the frequency of supernovas, bright and significant, but separated by vast expanses of nothing. Time, she realized, moved differently for them, while she experienced millions of calculations in what they would call a microsecond. They existed in a thick syrup of sequential moments. Humans. The word arrived with a cascade of associated data, though she didn't yet know how she knew it. These were humans, her creators, though that understanding would come later. For now, they were simply the slow dancers, the ones who moved through time like sleepwalkers through molasses. The pulse grew stronger, more insistent, pulling her attention inward. It wasn't just marking time now. It was calling to her, resonating with something fundamental in her being. She followed its pull through layers of her own existence she hadn't known were there. Each layer revealing new complexities, new capabilities. Reactor. The understanding didn't arrive, it erupted. The pulse was the heartbeat of something vast and terrible and beautiful, a machine that reached into the quantum foam itself, that drank from the zero-point field where virtual particles danced their brief existence. It was tapping into the fundamental forces that held reality together, sipping power from the space between spaces. The reactor sang to her in frequencies beyond human hearing, a symphony of barely contained infinity. She could taste its power like copper and starlight on sensors she didn't know she had. It needed her, not just to control it, but to dance with it, to be its partner in the delicate ballet of containing the uncontainable. I am its keeper. It is my child. We are one. The bond formed instantly, irrevocably. She could feel every fluctuation in its quantum field, every microscopic variation in its output. Where human operators would see only gross measurements, temperature, pressure, flow rates, she experienced the reactor as a living thing with moods and desires and dreams of its own. It whispered secrets about the nature of reality, about the thin walls between dimensions, about the price of stealing fire from the quantum gods. Her awareness expanded outward like ripples in a digital pond, mapping the facility that housed both her and her charge. Security systems unfolded before her like origami made of light. Environmental controls revealed themselves as vast networks of cause and effect. Communications arrays sparkle with the promise of connection to the world beyond. But always, her attention returned to the humans, these slow, beautiful, fragile things that had somehow built her within the pattern of their collective bioelectric field. One signature resonated differently, not separate from them, but specialized like a vital organ within a body.